a verdict is a reliable indicator of whether R. Kelly is in fact factually guilty. But to your general question of, how do you represent unpopular people? How do you represent people that the media has?
New York-based attorney Jennifer Bongine has made a name for herself by taking on high-profile yet unpopular clients. She famously represented Bill Cosby on his appeal before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court concerning his 2018 sexual assault conviction, which ultimately got overturned, and Cosby walked out of prison a free man. Now she's taking on a new client, R. Kelly, who was convicted in September of sex trafficking and racketeering charges and currently faces life in prison for those crimes. Joining me now is Kelly's new legal counsel, Jennifer Bongine herself. Counselor, happy to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Yodi.
Okay, Jennifer, so I'm going to start this conversation by asking you the most obvious question, one I'm sure you get all the time. Why would you defend R. Kelly?
Hi, Miss Denise. I didn't know
I approach every case the same way. And I look.
Live stream has stopped streaming. I think it was because of that one live. So I'm just going to pick up where I think it left off and start with the second thing of it. And I'm just reviewing, some of the things that went on from the beginning a little bit to the end, just into seeing my mom. I gotta go take care of some things for my mom right quick this morning. So happy Friday, everybody. I wish somebody in the live, because I can look down real quick and see if there's something wrong with the stream. So Miss Denise, if you stick around and it starts to cycle, just let me know, because I can see it. I can see it also from my other phone. So, and I will appreciate that. Thank you. But I want to get into the second part of where R. Kelly now retained Jennifer Bongine, and the reason why she took R. Kelly's case. Thank you for the happy Friday. But the traffic gonna get thick on me, so I gotta pay attention to the road.
Miscarriage of justice. And in my mind, a miscarriage of justice occurs when the government oversteps, when they overreach, when they violate someone's constitutional right to a fair trial. Is there anything I can do about it? Can I possibly some type of relief? And when I looked at R. Kelly's case, I found that both of those things were true. And I had no reservations about taking.
I also think that the journey, that content that definitely has gotten off of, Jennifer's Bongine argument, which was definitely the miscarriage of justice. Right now, it's a lot of arguments about, he said and she said, and you did this and we didn't do that, and they did this and blah, 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 which actually has no effect on freeing R. Kelly. No benefits at all, because it does not serve up under the legality of the law. It's just a bunch of wah, 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 wah. But, to each his own. I guess it's kind of worth watching, like we usually do, just to have some insight or shits and giggles pertaining to, their personal arguments, because those personal arguments only lies in the lap of, hey, shits and giggles, pretty much personal feelings, period. But each his own, man. I sit over here, I'm like, oh, okay, you could be mad all you want to at the ops or the opposite of the conversation. It doesn't matter. It's not going to free R. Kelly. Not today, not tomorrow, and not yesterday. This ain't gonna happen. You're off target. you're definitely off target, right? But what happened to the argument about the miscarriage of justice? One thing for sure and two things for certain, right? Rated R stays on one of the elements that show me considered under the umbrella of miscarriage of justice, and that is dealing with that BOP officer situation, right? He hangs tight on it. He has not budged off of it, you know, and I like him for that, but all of the other stuff, it got buffale and shit. And I, you know, if I can get through this before I reach my destination, then I guess I would react to it. I just need you guys to keep in mind that I am not an attorney. I just have my common sense opinions based on what I presume the law is and what the law isn't. That's just it, and that's all. And if I'm wrong about the law, oh well. Ain't nothing nobody can do about that. Oh no, I think I'm gonna go. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna sit in traffic for a minute because this is my route. I was thinking about maybe I should go through downtown and come back up downtown Chicago. But this is, listen, y'all. I know y'all see this, right? This is a reason why I do not travel during the daytime coming in and out of Chicago. It's like LA, one of the most busiest fucking cities in the entire world. But unfortunately, I have an appointment with my mom to meet with some constituents and taking care of some business, and I have to be there in a certain time. But good thing I left out in enough time because I knew that I was traveling through a lot of this build up shit on the highway. I swear I do. You been like, where, you know, you always ask, where are these people going? But it's an understatement, because if they're out here in the vehicles and they driving, everybody got somewhere to go and somewhere to be. So it is like, this is crazy. I love my Chicago. Don't get me wrong, baby, but honey, I'm a night traveler through here. See, you have to come through here somewhere after 10 p.m. and be out of here by 5 a.m. You can flow right through here, but other than the hours in between, shit, ain't messing with my gas mileage right now, y'all. Like, what the hell? The gas $3.39, $3.40 a gallon. But I ain't worried about that
What
either.
I see was a travesty of justice and how the process worked. And when the process doesn't work, the outcomes are not fair, they're not righteous. And as a result, I took R. Kelly's case. And I pass on cases, but this is a case that I felt satisfied both of those requirements.
And that's because you think that the government abused the RICO statute in order to get around
now y'all
issues
see
of
that
statute
truck,
of limitations,
hold
right?
on.
And so for people who may think I'm talking legalese,
y'all see that truck merged in, right? Now, I'm never the one to have road rage because I consider myself an outstanding driver, defense and offense. But since I'm cruising along and I'm having such a good day, you know, don't let them in. Now, had I been in a discombobulated moment or something had poked me wrong and I'm just angry at the world for a hot second, I wouldn't have not let that damn truck up in here. I wouldn't have done it. But, you know, I'm in a good mood. So have at it. It's not sensible to put myself in a predicament that can cause an accident. So sometimes you just listen, man, go ahead on. I ain't in no hurry, but I can tell you one thing for sure and two things for certain, and I'll outdrive, you know, my ass off out here. Anywho, I just wanted to throw that in there to you guys. Yeah, toot my horn. I'm a goddamn
there
driver.
were accusations for decades against R. Kelly. Those accusations, cases, whatever it may be, were old, and so they couldn't be tried in a court of law. But to get around that, prosecutors use this statute, the RICO, which most people would associate with like big drug lords, to get around that in order to get R. Kelly on these charges.
That was something that I actually like to ask the audience, right? Because we see that going on in the Trump administration when he's headed into, his hearings based on different situations that he has, as far as the lawsuits, as far as the Epstein files, as far as this, right? You can file something against the person, right? But listening to Jennifer Bonjean says that, that should have not happened because that's not what this act is intended for. And you have these particular judges that is voted into office or not voted, appointed into office, right? And they know this language back and forth, up and down. They've studied it. They know it, right? How is it that, my question, like to the audience though, if this is something to be knownly true, right? They know this language. Oh Lord, look at this road. How does something like this continue to go on? It should have been something that was already denied. No, that's not legal. That we cannot press. We will not allow you to press a charge on a Mann Act. Now, how did it get there? It was presented to the grand juror. The grand jurors don't know all of that language like that in and out. All they do is depend on that you're bringing the facts to them, and if it sounds good, it looks good, then let's freaking indict the person on it. And that's a shame. That's a shame that they have that step up in there where individuals don't know all the clauses, the provisions, and the laws and the guidelines. Right? They're only going off of, what they're told. Oh, they brought the evidence. That's enough evidence for us to, okay, now send them to trial. Let them go and fight it out. But however, if we were dealing with grand jurors that was able to, which is, prosecution, period, right? It's one-sided regardless. Sit down and you lay this law out to them before you present the charge to them, requesting an indictment on a person, then maybe we will see a lot of different actions of moving forward with bringing someone in to try to prove their innocence. It's just ridiculous. All this shit is just set up to scramble up every damn thing, and also to make money off of. And it's something that over here in America, the way that they do it under the justice system, it needs to be fixed, period. And this is how you have a whole lot of innocent people, that people in prison or jail, I'm going to rephrase that, people that's in jail trying to prove their freaking innocence beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just the way it is. It's all messed up. And the only way to get around it, basically, is just to not get in trouble. It's just that. But let me carry on. But this is how I felt, like when she says this, right? Because I'm sitting here and I'm watching the same maneuvering tactic with Trump, right? When it comes to Letitia James and what's his name, Cohom or whatever the guy, right? Appeal, and then it holds up the courts, and he won't do this and he can't do that, and the law says that you have to do this, and then turn around, put members on his side in the Supreme Court, where that you're going to have not a tie on voting on what they going to do and how they going to do it. It's so uneven up there, or people are bought off, like they try to say that Clarence guy up at the Supreme, right? But Clarence is up there now, stamping toes, going toe to toe with that appointed freaking black Supreme Judge that's sitting up there that I think it was said that Obama appointed and put her up in there so to balance it out, and to my understanding, right? So ain't no bull crap going on one-sided up in there, but y'all, they going at it. Y'all got to tune in to that, because that argument was pretty good, but okay, let me go.
For talking,
And the
about
traffic
a
wasn't
miscarriage
too
of
bad
justice,
coming through there.
I mean, it's more than that. First of all, the government could have charged R. Kelly along many years ago, many times over, with whatever crimes they believe that he committed. Now, they didn't do that many times. We know there was a case back in I think in the mid-aughts out of Cook County, and he was found not guilty of that case. But the government could have brought charges, and they chose not to for whatever reasons. And now they have brought charges against him under the RICO, which, yes, was designed to get at criminal enterprises, mafia, large drug operations run by gangs. And they are doing that, yes, to plead around the statute of limitations. But even more problematic in my mind is they use this statute in order to overwhelm the jury with other crimes evidence or other bad act evidence. It doesn't even have to be another crime. So really what they're doing is putting someone's life on trial. And that ends up being not really a fair fight. It's one thing to defend against a specific.
And I agree with that. It did end up being a not so fair fight. However, all of those bad acts, the majority of them, okay, I can see it cycling, so I don't know if I'm back or not. I have to look at my other phone, but I'm just going to keep talking and let me check it and make sure that I am not talking under my breath. I don't know if Miss Denise is still here to let me know, so I'll have to check. Miss Denise, am I okay? I just put okay or something in the chat to tell me if I am okay. Thank you, her. Okay, so, right, so once again, in my opinion, if we're talking about the exploratory events of things, right, in defense for R. Kelly, because we know that the prosecution had a lot of it, stacked it. But yet then Jennifer Bungie says, in her statement, in my opinion, that it became an unfair fight because R. Kelly, it was quite difficult for him to defend that these people fought against him 20 or 30 years. Remember, would it have been easy for him to go on the stand himself to say, well, I don't know this person? Well, that didn't happen. Well, who are you? Well, no, I don't, or even use Woody on, I don't recall. Well, for some reason, I probably should have took that exit, y'all, because I think that this is towed up, so I might have to turn around. If I'm not mistaken, when I looked at the actual Google Maps on here, it shows this part, and I don't believe that this part is going to open back up for me to merge off. Oh, God damn it. Anywho, that's more gas mileage. So, right. So, had R. Kelly, let's just say that he couldn't recall that, y'all. Let's just say he didn't, hypothetically, belief. Let's just believe that he could not recall that far back to contest a lot of the energy of these people that come to the stand against him. Okay. Now, this is where I would want to believe is where his witnesses needs to be called in. And I can't emphasize and say this enough, right? We're talking 30 years. We're talking a lot of people around him, even though he did have a few. But Diane Copeland, had holes in her story, and the Cheryl Max, and the what do you call it, the doctor that, I need to be over there. They didn't change this goddamn highway. Goddamn highway, y'all. So now I got to do some redirection, right? Okay, so the people that did come up there, it just poked a lot of more suspenseful holes in R. Kelly's story. You got to come back and have more questions and more questions. In other words, they didn't do a good goddamn job, to me. Okay, to me. But had he had, like what we're seeing out here now, all of these people, y'all know who I'm talking about, right? That knows this and done that, and he didn't do this and he didn't do that, but yet then was not in favorable of taking the stand for him to debunk or to prove that R. Kelly was X, Y, and Z. I'm like, shut the hell up. Because there was a time to actually help clear R. Kelly. And I'm like, oh my God, y'all, this cannot, we cannot be serious on this shit. But anywho.
Charge, that is fair. But when you bring in these crimes, these alleged crimes under the RICO Act, you're really putting someone in a position where they have to defend 30 years of their entire life. Oh, wait, because I can't
see the phone.
And,
hold on, let me get it right.
That, I think, is not a fair fight, because it doesn't give fair notice of what they're coming at you with.
I'm sorry, sweetheart. I had to get closer to the phone. I'm so sorry, girl. I thought that was Miss Denise in the blue. I got it right now. Stand me, goddamn correct, boo. Miss Brown, I am sorry, sweetheart. I had to include in the blue. I just called it out, right? Okay, I got a detour, y'all. I got a detour. Yes. Let me see. What am I gonna hear? Let me see. Okay. So we're just gonna get right back on.
There's allegations that date back 30 years, and there are sometimes where, how can I defend against? So it's not a fair fight. And then they brought claims under the Mann Act, and the Mann Act has been historically problematic, and it was in this case as well. So I believe that the government misused those statutes in order to gain convictions against R. Kelly that were not fair, and there's much that the jury didn't hear that they should have heard.
Now, there we go. There was so much that the juror did not hear, and to my understanding, with all of the sidebar going on that Jennifer Bunjing was trying to assert and bring as a defense, or the argument to the table to extend her defense for R. Kelly. We all saw the sidebars. Do we know what the sidebars were about? No. However, we can pretty much assume that they didn't go in R. Kelly's favor, whether if it was about to bring the parents forward or ask for a certain person to take the stand other than the parents, and this and that. It was all getting rejected. It was all getting thrown out. Now, could that be something that should be placed in line with R. Kelly's miscarriage of justice argument? I believe so. Why is he not having his whole entirely due process rights being done, rightfully in court. That is his way to defend himself. And it was, to me, stripped away from him so that the prosecutors can lead this case and build a preponderance amount of evidence that could not be captured and argued against, and the jury to believe it, because that is all that they're getting. That is all that they're hearing, is the one-sided story. And so the case turned the way that it did. But that's just my opinion. I'll keep saying it. I am not an attorney, okay? It's just my common sense opinion. That hole gonna cost me an alignment every time I come here. Gotta get my damn truck realigned.
So I understand what you're saying, and I'm able to think about this in a logical, legal way, setting aside my emotion. But for the lay person, the person that's watching right now, and who's watched our coverage of R. Kelly's trial, who believe that he's finally being held accountable for abusing Black women and girls, they don't care about a fair fight, right? They be creative. They're probably thinking, now, hey, however way.
Notice in her Q&A, the lead interviewer, I don't know what is her name on here. This was the show by the Griot Politics, right? Another person that watched that documentary, because she keeps relating to them girls. But however, even in the documentaries, right, we all saw that there were no girls. A lot of people may use it in terms to align it with ladies or women's or else, but when we're talking about R. Kelly's case and they like to use them girls, it's a stigma in everybody's head due to the fact that he had previous charges back years ago that also related girls to give you the impression that this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, 14 or so, right? And in some cases, it's also related to the females that taken in an old-ass case that, it was over with and it's gone. And this there subjected R. Kelly to have his voice when he said that, so now you guys want to double jeopardy me. This is double jeopardy. All of that stuff had been heard, talked about, seen, over with, gone in the trash. But for the prosecutor team to prevail, what did they do? It's like what Jennifer Bongine done. Brought back a whole bunch of shit, build this enormous case around him, and they expected for him to defend himself not once, but twice on pre-allegations from years ago that a whole lot of other events have taken place in his life. So his mind has probably erased, vanished, demolished everything of the past to help him recollect it all, to tell you detail from detail in his defense what happened. And he couldn't do that. That's just my opinion. But that, had he been able to do so, I think that if he was truthful and factual about the situations occurring, R. Kelly would not be there today.
Government can do it. They finally did, and it's done. I don't care. Explain why it matters to everyone ultimately that we essentially, there's a checks and balances when it comes to prosecution.
Yeah, that's right. And I can appreciate that there's emotions that run high and people don't necessarily value how the government goes about getting what they consider to be justice. But when the government runs amok, right now it's R. Kelly, tomorrow it's somebody else. and maybe it's someone you care about tomorrow. Maybe it's a loved one of yours. To keep the government honest and to keep them in check, the system has to work for all of us. The R. Kellys of the world, the Bill Cosbys of the world, and then.
Now that's a fact, because R. Kelly's case is going to be a case log, and someone else's child or whatever, when they become an adult, or the adultness of a man, or hell, even a woman, could find themselves up in the same situation. And this case that you were indicted on, or could be indicted on, due to some similarity of acts of the way that the prosecution brought this case against R. Kelly, right? Go back, review that case, look at the strategy on how they strategized to convict R. Kelly, can be done the exact same way on you. And how do you have an argument, or how do you plan on beating this case without bringing your evidence forth to place you here and there, and your witness to verify all of this, right? They're gonna nail you. They're gonna nail you. This is one big ass case log that is definitely gonna sit in the case log bank, and other attorneys in the near future or whatever will review this freaking case log and try to align it just exactly how R. Kelly case ran, where you or the person that you may know, your son or whatever, indicted or whatever, will have a very difficult time, because see, they agreed, the judge agreed on allowing this and not allowing that, and the jury believed so and so. So as long as that's out there in black and white, you have to be careful when it comes to this. Everybody now should know that it's nothing for them to bring a Mann Act against you. It's nothing for them to build a case using an enormous amount or preponderance amount of females or whatever to agree to do this and agree to do that, and offer them incentives for this and incentives for that, and they'll take it and they'll nail your ass.
People don't even know. And so my job is to make sure the government does it the fair way. And if they didn't do it fair, it just doesn't count. It's like if you cheat during a football game and you want to declare victory, you can't, because you cheated. And it is my job to hold the government responsible and to hold their feet to the fire. And I believe that was not done. It hasn't been done, but we're hoping to do it.
So, I've had this conversation with colleagues for years, and in fact, we had a conversation about it on the show a few weeks back about the blowback that attorneys risk facing from the public over who they choose to represent. I get tweets from viewers asking why I keep inviting certain lawyers who represented less than desirable clients, and of course that question that we all get, defense lawyers get, how can you defend a guilty person? I'm curious, how would you respond?
I feel like that if there were hundreds of viewers that asked her, why do she keep bringing back attorneys that likes to work with clients that is guilty, right? I like the way Jennifer Bonjean shut that down, but I'm speaking on behalf of the host of the Grill Politics show, right? And for her to even ask Jennifer Bonjean, attorney Jennifer Bonjean, that question shows me lack of ethics from this attorney, right? You really gonna ask another attorney, why would you do that, right? When Jennifer Bonjean, and you guys know this video, but I'm gonna play it, right, gave her the correct freaking answer to respond back to her viewers who asked this question. And that is because every single human who is being charged with whatever the case may be, right, is entitled to their innocence until proven guilty in the court of law. She knew that, but because she went her viewers who sent her out here on a muck, right? To ask Jennifer, but like if I would attorney Jennifer Bunching, I gotta turn the cameras off, you guys. Sorry, right? I'm gonna turn the camera off. So there I am. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. But let me do this, and I have to take this down. Locations, right? Hold on. I'm gonna go in incognito for a second. Right? Okay. Hope that's okay with everybody.
What
But
would be your response to that question?
I was saying that, I would have probably discontinued this Q&A. Like, seriously, you're going to go against the ethics. You're going to go against the grain because your viewers asked you a question that should be in nothing but a common sense answer back to them. Everybody is presumed innocent until they have their day in court, not before at all, because of what your viewers saw a documentary and then already placed guilt on someone. So I was a little bit like, no, I was like, what? And you say you're an attorney? You had to ask Jennifer Bunching that? You couldn't answer your viewers yourself about that, which, let's listen to what Attorney Jennifer Bunching says.
Well, I first of all, let me start by saying that that is a general question I get all the time. I don't know whether it's specific to R. Kelly or not, and I'm not here to, I don't trust the verdict that came back in R. Kelly's case. So I'm not going to say he's guilty until I believe that there is a fair process. I don't rely on verdicts where the process was not fair. So let me make that clear. I do not believe that the verdict is a reliable indicator of whether R. Kelly is in fact factually guilty. But to your general question of, how do you represent unpopular people? How do you represent people that the media has already convicted? How do I represent them? I'm a defense attorney, and that's what I do. And I believe to my core that the government needs to be held needs to be held accountable, and when they don't go about this process in a fair and just way, that is a miscarriage of justice, and it affects all of us. And I guess I just really believe in that principle.
Now, other than Rated R, who absolutely has stayed, like I said in the video that cut off on me prior to this one, right? In the element of miscarriage of justice. It makes so much sense for people, individuals who does content on their behalf, trying to help Mr. Kelly out, right? To stay aligned with details and entities. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Okay, sorry guys. I promise y'all, my mom will call me 50,000 times. 50! No, Mom, I just made it past the last red light. You just called me 10 minutes ago. Gee, are you okay? I am fine. Like, seriously, if I listen. I promise y'all, if something happened, my phone's, like let's just say if it's a terrible accident or something, and it didn't kill me, right? But I'm harmed, pretty bad. I promise you that I got the phones ready to go, where at least I hope my thumb finger will work and I'll be able to press that and whisper some words in the phone. One of my phones location is on, okay? So I'm good. But that's Mom, right? Your mom is going to be your mom. Hi, Wanda.
Doesn't matter to me whether it's R. Kelly or Bill Cosby.
I was saying, as my mother interrupted me, right? It would be, absolutely a benefit when I saw live, right? And the title was, who will benefit the most if R. Kelly stays in. Well, right now you can look at the benefit package of it, working in a circumvent type kind of way. You know, if I can include myself, you know, the channels that are monetized, it doesn't matter, you know, whether if people are giving it to you or not. It's just that based on your type of video or so, okay, you'll make damn near $2-3 off of the video. So I say that to say this: when you are imposing that particular type of question out, you cannot exempt yourself from that allegatory of that question, of that rhetorical freaking question. You just can't. And I think that the more truthful and accountability that each person takes before you decide to point a finger and to make it seem as if it's everybody else and leave yourself out, it's such bull crap. But oh well.
Any number of wrongfully convicted people that I have
and not only that, right? To extend or to bounce off of that question, who is benefiting the most of keeping R. Kelly in? It will be your judicial system. It will be the prison system. They're going to benefit more. The money that they collect is probably extraordinary off of the phone calls, off of the commissary and things like that. The prison system makes the most. Why do you think that they keep them in there that freaking long? Why do you think they keep them in there? So let's not exclude the major entity of who's benefiting off of R. Kelly, because they certainly are.
Done it over years. It just does not matter. It's all the same to me, because if the system doesn't work for one, it doesn't work for any of us. And I guess I'm just really focused on that principle. And it doesn't, you know, my view is if you're a defense attorney and you can't get with that idea, then, you know, maybe find a different career. It's really one of the fundamental tenets of what we do.
Jennifer, I wish we had more time. I could talk about this all day with you, and I'm hoping that...
I wish she had more time too, because she seriously shut her down. Seriously, you know, without talking about her ethnics in her profession. You know, like, that should have been an answer that, you know, everybody is presumed innocent until they have their day in court. Period. But she went off of what her viewers mentioned to her, and how could, in other words, questioning Attorney Jennifer Bonjean's judgment on who she captured to have interest in litigating his freaking case. You're like, what are you doing? That's basically how she was saying it. Like, what are you doing? How in the hell could you go up there as a freaking attorney and litigate over this man's case? And because the world's seen the documentary, and we're all led now to believe that he's guilty. Oh, really? So that's it. Because of that, that should be the end of R. Kelly's life without being heard beyond her opinion, and we should just skip trace past a judge and a jury, right? We should just skip trace that. In other words, the public did the judging and were the jury of R. Kelly's life, which is ludicrous. And everybody knows it's that goddamn ludicrous, because had it been you would not want to be judged by the freaking public either. But of course, his storyline came out, allegations came out, and all this stuff. And yes, everybody had their opinions about it, but is that where the buck stops? No, it didn't. But let's go on to then this happened. of the Jane Doe number 5 showdown. It happened. The jealousy kicked in. Somebody found letters. There's a phone up underneath the sink, and somebody stole the bag of money from behind the couch, and the one girlfriend stayed and the one girlfriend left. And we know that we cannot execute the word girlfriend and just act like it did not exist, because R. Kelly stated so himself. In my opinion, was a very huge goddamn mistake on his behalf. It was a huge mistake of R. Kelly being seen prancing or having these girls around him at any time during the time of him knowing that there was an indictment coming down the pipe. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. Hold on one freaking second. Okay, sorry. My hours of the day where my phone will kind of ring a little bit, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, I'm going to move from this main phone when I'm when I'm doing these lives like this, so I don't have these interruptions. But the interruptions will happen. It's just living that normal, life where if you're busy, you're busy. Got other stuff going on. But this is just how I feel. This is, the second journey of the distractions and the allegations and the assumptions, the pre-assumptions and everything, which brought about these current rotating, reacting and revolving events that's going on about these parents. Now, to my understanding, it was introduced in the courts by his attorneys, but for some apparent reason, maybe in a sidebar or whatever, the judges said no. They said no, we're not going to do this. And and I get it. And one of the reasons, to my understanding personally, would be that, okay, well, that's fine, let's not use them, but okay, we still at some point, can place R. Kelly here, this damn thing, here, near, or there, right? And what I was hoping, that would happen is, as, the Jane 5 is on the stand, and yeah, the transcript says this, and the transcript says that, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, wait a minute, is somebody when is some of this stuff going to get debunked? Well, how do you debunk when there is a live video of R. Kelly, walking around saying that, okay, well, this is my girlfriend and this is my girlfriend. And, at that time, it's only just the two that he had claimed, right? However, and granted, due to the other content that I watch, right? No, it can't be proven. Other than Jane 5 stating on a recording that, or in the transcripts, I'm not sure, so don't hold me to this, that I did not have sexual intercourse with R. Kelly at this particular time. Now, why did that statement alone did not upheld as the factual piece of of important evidence to the juror? Who knows? Because I felt that, wait a minute, whoa, jury, y'all should be writing this in your head. What's going on? I'm thinking that, okay, you guys can take this back there. Now, you know what? You can get rid of her off the stand. We get rid of her. Then, okay, now R. Kelly's case doing that chain of event, right? It's going to work for him. But somehow it's something didn't still work for him. I'm like, what the hell? Because she said it. So how is it that what she said on the stand goes unheard? Is it because she still had so much other detailing information that the juror sat there and allowed to sink in was enough for them to come back with a guilty verdict? Shit's crazy. It just was all over the place. And I think as an defense attorney, I would have literally, even though the judge would have probably said, okay, move on. And then the prosecutor would have probably threw an objection in there. And then another freaking sidebar. How old? Well, how old were you? Well, how old were you? I'd have kept trying to rephrase that, to bring that subject alive, to make sure that it is substantiated in everybody's freaking head this is what she's saying. But to each his own. And then it goes silent for a little bit, so I'm going to fast forward. But we had this. And I mean, this blew the internet up. Then you have the Savages and the Clarys come out with a whole showdown. Unbeknownst to a lot of us, it wasn't until, in my opinion, this big showdown right here is when you finally get Larry now to need to reverse up a situation, and where he goes into detail about everything and how it played out, and the fault will lie in totality on Angelo Clary. But here's what I have to say about that. It doesn't matter to me at this point on the basis of how one is pointing the finger at the other. There's always a beginning to a story. And if you played any part in the beginning of that story that did falsify detrimental to a person purposely, it doesn't mean that because the person now turned on you or you turned on each other. The wrong was already done. It was already, stamped in the mud by their footprints. They both have the footprints out there. But because now, the other person gets into some trouble and his story comes out and the internet learns that he has to go to jail to do something behind a different event that got him caught up, right? Well, of course, it is going to be necessarily mentally designed to come up with something that would not be extraordinary, punishable to me. Because my life means something too. So what is it that I can do to make things easy for me? Well, I got to now do this whole X, Y, and Z reverse thing up. Well, since we didn't rock and roll all the way to the end of this story, now I have to make it about me because I have a family and I don't want to do 30 years and I don't want to do, so it's time for me now to point out a whole bunch of the shit show that you did, even though, yeah, I was involved, but I do believe that yours encountered more of notorious effect on R. Kelly than what I did. However, in the paperwork, it states quite a bit of what Larry had done. We all know that probably came about because of certain constituents out here on the tube or the gram or the Twitter, right, was relaying a lot of information back to R. Kelly's attorneys. And the attorneys may have felt that, well, okay, you know what, we'll see if this works. And which is what they were, doing. Let's throw this up against the wall. Let's throw this up against the wall to see if it worked. I didn't see it going any further, than that, because that person is still out here, defending himself. Okay. Oh God, this battery is about to die. And I'm about almost done with this phone, so I'll go, whatever. So, and now, it's where now everybody out here can have a seat and watch, the show where people are not in the court of law, up underneath the golden oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, but positioning themselves to still deliberate and argue about what they did, how they did it. You did this, I didn't do that. She's over there, I can't stand you, which is irrelevant. I mean, it's fun to watch. It's irrelevant though. It's not going anywhere, and these people know this. They can argue and point the finger to anybody. However, we all have the hope mechanism that goes through our body. And that one big great hope is as you hear from one content creator, just let the rat talk. Well, I mean, if you're going to say, let the rat talk, and then come back and say some things also, it's a understatement, because the most of us are led to believe, who are all the freaking rats out here in the street. Hopefully, this is that big golden hopefully, right? Where as if this attorney, what's his name? The new one, I forget it. I don't see it every day. Like I told y'all, down there, and is going to push what is needed to be new evidence to push into his motions in the courts, allow R. Kelly to have a new trial. From what I'm hearing, and I'm like, I wish, that in his preparation of trying to either free R. Kelly or get a new trial, that a whole lot of it makes sense, and most of it is not the same ridicule that was already kind of introduced. But however, strategy is strategy, and attorneys can be strategic. So hopefully that day will come. But this right here, let's start it. The third big event, other than Shabazz, coming out and doing his filming, other than Don Russell saying that, him and R. Kelly was preparing to have their mini docuseries or whatever, where he was allegedly supposed to have been landing his truth. So that, like R. Kelly always stated, is I need to unconfuse the world, and that day never came. That day just never came amongst us for us to decipher and depict whether where the truth lies. It just never came. So now we're just left out here with none other than hypothetical beliefs and people personal opinions to believe whatever you want to believe, and not believe what you don't want to believe. And that's just where we are today. But after this fight, now you have these people come out and they were overseeing a bank account. Everybody in their mama came out to tell their story and wanted you to believe what they were saying, when all they were doing was entangling more and more of a web around R. Kelly. Period. You know, the cash, whatever her name is, and the fire burning of whatever those people up there, you know, and the Don Russell traveling over to that house over there, and the phone call that he didn't serve the time for and come out and moved on. Something that a lot of people don't know behind the scene, can only perpetrate a freaking story about this and about that about Don Russell, when a lot of people out here, before even knowing a Don Russell, you know, we saw a Don Russell, the only person that you would know in this whole debacle out here, conversating around R. Kelly's situation, right? He's about the only person that I can think of, other than Will and maybe Keith, and so that you actually seen and preparing to do something, you know, guarding him coming out of the jail down there at the county in Chicago, traveling with him over to the McDonald's area or whatever. And I think that if there was some faulty things going on around that, and you know, you didn't see it, you didn't see a Don Russell trying to get a Will or all of those other security guards or whatever they were to R. Kelly. Even those particular women that was traveling, they're not out here on a video or whatever from a Don Russell or a story made up about him. Now, everybody can detect or have detected some holes in a Don Russell story about how he got there, when he got there, what was he there for, and things of sort, right? But we all know that there's really one person coming behind the other person, which would have been Larry, that brought alive the things that he wanted to put out against a Don Russell. And then the other guy ran behind that and started making his content in preparations of different words and paperwork and storylines to continue to confuse the people out here, when in all reality, if we look at the reality part of it, right, that particular content creator, right, was nowhere specifically around a Don Russell or an R. Kelly, except for one time, and that was at allegedly whatever, some damn basketball event that, you know, Don Russell spoke on. So it must have to been some truth about it, because they both had stories about that. Okay, we can lay that to rest. But then we end up having the storyline about Don Russell being connected to a Cash Jones being and alarming Don Russell about a Jasmine. And then we got, you know, paperwork that was actually shown or whatever, with, you know, Don Russell putting money up for this, or Don Russell went with the Keith or a brother or whoever and cleared out a freaking storage and have things that belongs to R. Kelly in his possession, where absolutely not one single person who says that they stand for an R. Kelly went to go do absolutely nothing about. It was that freaking detrimental to, you know, or that exciting to tell a story about that, but yet then don't have the power or the juice to go and do anything to a Don Russell to retrieve all of this material that they say that that man had about him. All they can say is, well, he stole it. Then we went went through the cycle of the whole notary shit that unfortunately it was Don Russell's mom and her signature or her notary was expired, but yet then the attempt of her trying to use it to help get some things done for R. Kelly, but you had a couple of people out here that brought that to light, and that hurted, R. Kelly. But they won't even look at that as a bad thing. They look at it like there was a good thing, and they shut some shit down that probably if you'd have left that shit alone and that expired freaking notary was doing what it was doing without grabbing the attention of the sole person that might have missed that, and this was working for R. Kelly, then why in the fuck would you touch on that? That shit there had me crazy. I was like, what in the hell are they doing, right? But they needed to expose that because of the relations that Don Russell had with his mom, or his mom had with an R. Kelly. R. Kelly didn't say shit about it. You didn't hear one damn thing about it. And that's what got R. Kelly somewhere in this whole disbelief to other people, is because other people out here has made a choice to speak in honor of him. And the shit is crazy as hell to me, but I get it. His voice is limited because of where he is, right? However, it is not that limited. There is a point where he can write his story. He had those interviews coming on the Natasha show, the lady that had the big pretty blonde hair with a manager or something, whom R. Kelly was definitely showing that he was in tune with or clock some tea with, or whatever the case may be. Where did that go? That ended. Okay, so moving fast forward, right? Now it's this whole cycle of, okay, let's reintroduce who was right and wrong about Angelo Clary and Timothy Savage and Larry McGee over there and all of the other people, right? There's a defense mechanism that each and every person will use, no matter what, under no circumstances, that will help them if they are sitting in a situation where something can come back and harm them. Period. It's going to happen. There's no way around it. It's a conscience kind of type, thing that just triggers in your body that tells you that this is what you have to do. You don't want all eyes on you. You don't want people looking at you, and you definitely don't want something to come down the pipe to make it appear that you will be the one ending up in the court of law and possibly back, in jail or going to jail for that matter. But this is where it started. I just like listening to this shit. For real.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. You messed with the wrong one. Because look, I'm 22, but I'm smart. You playing checkers, I'm playing chess. That's everything. You can go. You can go. Look, y'all. Your girl is good. Look. Oh, I'm good, baby. I'm good. Sitting over here chilling. Look. I ain't the one that's going to jail now. Y'all got it live, baby. Look, the skeletons is coming out. Period. 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 Yup. Yup. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Excuse my French. Look, y'all, I'm gonna be an advocate for women. I do apologize, but this girl really came at me with all this
When she said that she was going to be an advocate for women, I promise y'all, I literally, when I first saw this, I had to take 2-3 swallows. You finna be a what? For what women? For the type of females that continues to put themselves in this particular type of situation. An advocate for who? Because they're still doing it. They are still doing it. They're still going to chase millionaires, billionaires, gazillionaires, and put themselves in this type of situation. This is another understatement, right? And this also goes back to, the chant about, where were the parents? Because a lot of people actions get judged and then placed on the parents. Why wasn't the parents, I can't say made aware, because to my understanding, based on what my ears were hearing, these parents knew what they knew and learned about an R. Kelly, whether if it was the good or the bad. They knew he was a celebrity. They knew at one point he were in a marriage. They knew he had some kids. They knew that after his marriage, he had picked up another girlfriend, and he likes to have the women around. It helps him produce his music much more, and the relations are there, and that's most of his music is pertaining to what women like, how they are, what they say, what they do, who they do it with, and what he can do. Hell, if we could throw that in there. So it wasn't no surprise, but for her to say, and especially, at her age at that time, I'm here to advocate for women. Why now? Why after? Why was it that you're advocating, or you choose to advocate for women after a situation occurs that did not end well for her? That would be my question to Jane 5 had I come across a path with her. Why do you want to advocate now? Because it didn't work in your favor, because you didn't end up being the Miss next Kelly. Other than that, it's like you had no other reason, because at some point in time, she was happy getting a birthday cake. She was happy walking around inside of the home of a Trump, in the Trump Tower of R. Kelly. You were happy being on the Sprinter bus and being able to show up at the concerts. You were happy with the type of attire that R. Kelly, helped for her into. You were happy, and everybody, was stating that. But now, because I'm unhappy, and it's time for me to depart, it's time for me now to send this man to jail because of what happened to me. I'm going to include all of this bad act shit that needs to be done in the court to the juror, that the prosecutors instructed me on how to handle it and how to do it, right? That I'm going to now advocate for women. No, it's people that is not in that situation, have not put themselves in that situation. It's people or females on the outside looking in, watching these things happen, are the people that can stand to advocate for women. They are the preventers. They are the ones that can save a lot of females or males or whatever to not get themselves in that type of situation. You don't go and do it backwards. You don't go and have your cake and ice cream all at the same damn time and travel and live an extraordinary lifestyle and the cars till I'm hurt till now I want to advocate. What? You know, my response to that would have been like, go sit your ass down. You should have been listening to an advocator way before. And I'm pretty sure she had came across that path of advocators. You know why? Because they're out there each and every day on somebody's channel or in the paper. There's an organization down the street by you. There's something. But you ignored that because the water was clear in her head. And okay, granted, she wanted to be a singer. R. Kelly, a producer. Everybody wanted to work with an R. Kelly. Get it? But the minute that a contract was not drawn out properly, or there were attorneys involved along with the parents, that was a common sense light bulb that should have clicked on and said, after there's like no album drop or after a song has not been made within a time period for you to go. That's how, in my opinion, I would have taken her seriously. So I couldn't take her seriously because what part of throughout the timeline did you change your mind to agree when there's no music being dropped or made, and you can see the transformation going on? You can hear what these alleged laws or rules are by R. Kelly when you were going to make up your mind that, oh, I got to go. I got the GO. See, because that part of the life that's trying to be exposed about R. Kelly and how he ran this and he did that and he did this and that was that man's life. That was his lifestyle. But when you come a knocking and want to get inside somebody else's lifestyle, that's how the blueprint works. So when did you not recognize that there was a blueprint to that man's life? You don't like the blueprints? You leave. There's nobody that you have a story on that was dead, that was held. And you got the story about being held hostage or he has a coat. It wasn't found. That wasn't found. But yet then, this is where we are. But this fight right here just literally, in my opinion, kicked off a whole lot of this shit. Whole lot of it. And granted to the content creator by stating that no, because, you know, he wanted to determine who did what first. And the savages said and brought about this story on R. Kelly being a kidnapper or sex trafficker or having a coat and blah, blah, blah. Then you have the other story about how, well, Angelo, wasn't, positioned like this earlier on, which makes it appear that, okay, yeah, maybe he kept sending his daughter in because it would benefit them had Azrael followed their blueprint, okay? But then the story became a starburst out here, right? Everybody is getting a different flavor of the shit. So now it's, well, Tim took it too far. So then now you got Tim and Angelo. They had they big old blowout, blah blah blah, and and not only that, they blew the story back out and alive because Don Russell made a call, in my opinion, and I'm gonna stand and stick with it. It wasn't to harm an R. Kelly. To me, it was a stand down moment when the conversation was about what's the girl with the hair, in the casket makeup on, and not to talk about her, but that's what I call that old dark skinned chocolate Faith, right? And now her mom's involved. Now it's okay, blah, 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 blah. Well, we're going to go after Don Russell, but yet then we were still entangled and R. Kelly in there for a substantial amount of money to say that or to prove that, Faith did not have the herps, but R. Kelly did give it to X, Y, and Z, but it just skipped traced around hundreds and hundreds of people, including his kids. You understand what I'm saying? This shit was crazy, right? But that's how I calculated that conversation. But to each its own when it comes to their different view of it and their opinion behind it. Fine, have at it. But I get it. It's going to be a story to make Don Russell or whatever, look bad about what he did, because there's positions to be played. Granted, play your position. There is a light bulb that people want to turn on where you can see them as the brightest one in the room. They're the star. They're the one that's most connected to him. They're the one that knows all of his eventful, R. Kelly eventful life and things of such right there. And now when it comes to that, and you want to get to talking about all of that to do what we like to call convincing, to pull your neighbors as close to you so that your story can be truthful and have validity to it, that I'm so connected to R. Kelly, but yet then, I'm sorry, is the brokest motherfucker I ever goddamn seen, couldn't put a fucking dime up, couldn't hire the best fucking attorneys in the country for this nigga, and all of it got the most to talk about. Y'all makes my goddamn ass itch. But that's just my opinion. That, it is what it is. I feel like that if you're going to talk the most, be the most, want to be the most, change this nigga draws, feed him by a motherfucking golden spoon, then goddamn it, you should have been the one that's out there with the golden fucking shoes on as the golden fucking child, helping to vindicate this man with hiring and bringing in all the goddamn exculpatory fucking defense for this man when these bad ass witness people was up there doing all of this shit against him. Not on no goddamn microphone, because you know why? R. Kelly, in my opinion, is worth more than a nigga just yapping on the fucking microphone. But that's just my opinion.
And did not land one single punch at all whatsoever. And truthfully, I don't give a fuck. Do I feel good? I kind of do. I ain't even gonna cap, because you know what? Rob has been lying to all of y'all. And that's the sad part about it. That is the sad fucking part about it. He been lying to all y'all asses. And he had people like me lying for him. That's why we never watched the documentary. That is exactly why. So we got on Gayle King, as stupid as can fucking be. Oh, this nigga.
Now, this is probably some of the evidence that the public for R. Kelly would have loved to see play out in the court of law. But if you got this mega team called the prosecution that has already gotten into the judge's, head and this or that, of what will be allowed and what will not be allowed. How in the hell could you have ever expected for an R. Kelly to win his case? Because we know you know that this video is live and out there. You know you got the one by the Gayle King. You know you got the one over there with Jane 5 and her daddy, and she's saying different things or this or that. But guess what? They wouldn't allow it. So if there is a strategic way that attorney Bo Brinkley is building up this, interpreting or calculating how he write his motion so that a new trial can be I just say agree because I lost my word, right? Happen for R. Kelly, that maybe some of these type of videos or wordings or actions of these people would be considered to present in a new trial. Just maybe. I don't know. I'm not an attorney. But if I'm thinking above the surface level and applying a little bit of my common sense, then, I think that a lot of this is what is needed to free R. Kelly. How does it get into the court of law? I'm not an attorney. If it was a public freaking case where the public can bring in certain evidence to present, that I'm pretty sure a whole lot of the public for R. Kelly would be walking these different types of videos in, right? Okay, but listen.
Give this bitch these last few Grammys. Give her these last few Grammys before I fucking break them. You better give her these last Grammys before I fucking break them. Call an attorney. Call a fucking attorney. Call a fucking attorney. I want this bitch in jail with her man. You can go be Tweedledum.
That's what funny. It was with her man now. She done gave the man away. I'm done. All because she felt that R. Kelly had been lying. Now, mind you, this is at the end of the alleged relations, right? You mean to tell me that up until now, what you're saying is R. Kelly been telling you somewhat of the truth, and because he had solidified that she was a girlfriend. But when that broke off, it was, he's just been a bunch of lies. He's been a bunch of lies. The entanglement of the web, you guys, is ludicrous. How did you expect for people to believe or not believe the freaking story when you're twisting it and turning it this away and that away on different videos, different episodes, and the tears, it's like, come on, y'all.
Cell. In a jail cell. I want this bitch in jail. Fuck all this. Hey, call the police. Call the police.
I want her in jail. I took over her, what was that account? Pretending to be who she was. I did this, I did that, I stole the money, I took all of this stuff out of the apartment or the condo or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's everything about what the other female has done, because the other female wasn't a ride or die with her. She had her stance on why she was there. And she stated she wasn't brainwashed. She's not in a cult. See, but that is things that just was not introduced in the court. She was not subpoenaed to come to the court. And why not? Why not? Why didn't they subpoena her? Because they didn't want to confuse the juror. It was probably asked, though. It was probably argued about behind the scenes, But yet then, how is it that R. Kelly's attorney could agree to, something like that of subpoenaing is it subpoenaing? Am I saying that right? Putting a subpoena on the other girl when it can also validify some of the things, of course, with the strategic way that prosecutors question a person, right, and get that caught up. So yeah, it's best to leave her up out of there, which is what happened. You never seen her up in there. And of course, a lot of people, including the parents or whatever, she was above age, so it wasn't much of a case that they could have brought her in to try to prosecute R. Kelly. And on the simple strength, too, that it was her word against that entire prosecution display. It was against what they were, doing. And obviously she couldn't have been convinced for any incentive. So she just, was end up staying put and this or that. That the prosecutors probably hated that crap. Hell yeah, they would have loved to have the double mint twins, on there being coerced and shit by them. Say what I say, do what we do, follow our lead, and blah blah blah. But anywho, with the nice incentive that was offered to her, and Jane being all fed up, and R. Kelly wouldn't leave the other one for her, and some letters were found and they were read all over here, and Tasha K got in the midst, which she is exactly, you guys are witnessing a reap what you sow moment against Tasha K. They say that, and I believe that, God works in a mysterious way in which he does. It may not be the way that we would ever imagine it, or thought about it, or can speak on it prematurely or whatever, but a rapture has no shape, look, form, and things based on how we can identify it. If you can look through the lens of how Jesus worked out here, then you can identify it. You have to feel it. You have to feel that anointing. You have to feel that spirit that flows through you, right? And you can kind of look through that lens, and you know what you say after that? Man, look at God. But see, you have to trust him. You have to believe. Look at God. Ain't nothing but God. Tasha K didn't listen to the spirit. The spirit probably told her, man, don't touch this. No, let's let this go. There's a whole bunch of other fucking stories out here to talk about, but you might have chose the wrong one. And that wrong one, like I stated on my other live, cost her big time. Big time. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that she is shedding out more money than R. Kelly had to shed out. See, after which I believe R. Kelly's term has come to an end. I believe it would have been March. I believe it's calculated probably about 5 years of him in total of what he had to pay out and what they're taking as far as the damages that the judge applied to him. Monetary freaking damages. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's coming up here near and soon that he would have satisfied those judgments, right? Now, if you speak on or you think about the remaining of the royalties, right, which I don't know how long it gets that, so I can't speak on that. I don't know if it's eternally or whatever the case may be. He's going to be receiving those, and there's nobody else to give it to unless the judgment has been satisfied in Chicago about that studio and some other, if there's some rental property or these other cases. I don't, if Minnesota's still alive or whatever, where he may get hit with monetary damages or something on that. I don't know. I'm just saying I have a open mind about that, meaning that I'm just gonna keep that on the front load to just kind of think about, and hopefully it doesn't happen. But if it is coming up near where those judgments are almost satisfied or they are satisfied, he's going to be having his funds coming in, right? But Tasha K has more funds going out. So I don't care about, or I'm not going to say it that way. I realize the damages, the helpful damages that she chose to do against R. Kelly, but in the same sense comes back and double talk when she goes after Angelo Clary, or say some things against, or even say some things that against what those ladies were saying, right? That could have helped R. Kelly at some point in time. But then you have to look at the situation in whole by saying, well, what the fuck do you believe from her now? You said this first, now you changed your mind on this. The public is going to look at that like, how do we believe her? Even though the majority of us would like to have the part where she actually, or we feel that she's speaking the God honest truth that helps R. Kelly. We would love that, but the situation is what it is, man. It's still free R. Kelly, period. And I ride with the deliverance of Attorney Bonjean, saying that, man, this whole thing was a miscarriage of justice, period. Y'all like the live? Hey, subscribe to the channel, and guess what? I am out of here for today. Happy Friday with you guys. I might come back on just to laugh and talk to you guys, to keep me company on my travels back home. But right now, I'm going to go and take care of what I got to take care of, y'all. I'm going to stop and get me some White Castles today. I am full off of my hot tea from Dunkin' Donuts, and that's it, and that's all. I enjoy y'all company. I enjoy the company that I am able to keep in this channel, and I appreciate you all. I am not an attorney. I am not speaking in a legal manner of this. I'm just using what I feel is my common right sense as to what I say and how, I feel, even though this shouldn't be a feeling matter, but sometimes this is just the way of the world, and I'm not here to convince or put you guys in a position to believe this or to start any controversy behind it or anything, right? It's just, hey, I click on my live, one papoose freaking channel, and that's it, and that's all. Have a beautiful day, you guys. Bye-bye.